Welcome, I'm Robin Smith, trauma and relationship coach, and I'm coming to you from an Airbnb in San Jose. And I was just talking to a client, and I wanted to bring this message forward to you because I see this with a lot of my clients where we think we are afraid to be ourselves because we think if we are, we won't be liked or we won't be loved and will be rejected or abandoned. And then part of how that shows up is you have a lot of pressure on yourself to be a certain way. Maybe you're trying to please by saying yes when you want to say no. Or maybe you're trying to guess what the other person wants you to say and you say that. And then what happens is you're doing a lot of contracting and not being authentic with who you are and not being in alignment with who you are. And over time, by doing that over and over, is you end up drawing people to you who like the inauthentic version of you, but then they don't know who you really are because you don't show them, because you're afraid of this rejection or abandonment. And so the problem is that you have a lot of inner contraction in your system, maybe a lot of pressure that you put on yourself to be a certain way, or maybe you're trying to be perfect. Maybe you're trying to be likable or lovable or approved of. And it's not sustainable because it's exhausting to you and it can produce a lot of anxiety as well, which is also exhausting. And then it also creates relationships that are not authentic because you can't really relax into who you are. So this is a way to stay, like, to have distance in your relationships and to keep kind of resentment building in your relationships if you keep this going. And I know you're probably not doing this on purpose and it's not necessarily conscious, but it's an old pattern based on childhood where maybe you were taught or you were told that who you are is not okay or not enough and you needed to be perfect. Maybe there was a lot of pressure on you to succeed or excel in school or in sports or something like that. So you learned, but in one way or another, to try harder or please or contract yourself into some form that you thought others would approve of. Um, but the thing is, it really does get in the way with you having healthy relationships. So if you really want connection, authentic connection, then you need to start with accepting yourself for who you are. You need to start with accepting that you have feelings sometimes and they're not always pretty or nice. You need to accept that you don't like everyone and everything, and that you have boundaries and limits to what's okay for you, and that you're allowed to have that. And you need to accept that you don't like how everybody treats you, and you're allowed to have some boundaries and limits about that. And you need to accept that you're a work in progress and that you're not perfect right now or all the time, and that you're going to have learning curves or stumbles and mistakes, but there are always opportunities to learn and to grow and to become the best version of you that you can. But we can only do that by making mistakes and learning from what happens. And honestly, I don't even like the word mistakes. I just like to say learning opportunity because we don't always know how to be or what to say, and then we don't always like what came out of our mouths, but we can use them as learning opportunities to do better next time and to reflect on what could have gone better and make new choices. So when we can take things as learning opportunities, as opportunities to grow, that means we're not being so hard on ourselves. We're letting ourselves mess up sometimes. We're letting ourselves learn as we go instead of having this pressure. I have to do it perfectly right out the gate and every single time. And all of that pressure is really hard on your system and in the end can make you sick and can make your relationships really unhealthy. So when you start shifting into accepting who you are and letting yourself be okay as you are and enough as you are, even if you're not perfect and even though you're learning as you go, then you've taken a lot of pressure off of yourself. And when you do that, you can meet people from that place and make relationships from that place where you're still going to try your best, but it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. And you'll attract people then who are okay with you being your authentic, imperfect self. And then your relationships will feel better because they'll be healthier, because they will be based on you being authentically you and not trying so hard to be somebody who you think they will approve of, or they will love, or they will like, or that will please them. So hopefully that's making sense. I know that's a big mouthful, so maybe listen again, take some notes, leave a comment below if that was helpful to you, or if you have any questions, or if you'd like to have a meeting with me, if you want to get help around how can I take this pressure off and lower these expectations and be more kind to myself. This is the work I do with my clients because I've done it with myself. And it really changes relationships. First and foremost, your relationship to yourself. And then all the other relationships in your life are affected by that. So again, like this if you found it helpful, subscribe if you would like to get more messages about my upcoming videos, and make sure you don't miss them. Ring the bell so you can get notifications, and please feel free to pass this video on if you know someone else can benefit. I'll leave some notes in the description below about other videos that you might like to watch as well. And thanks so much for being here. Hope to see you soon.